couple minutes. So I know that there's going to be a few more folks joining us. Let's see what time it is. We got about 2 minutes before we're going to start. We are going to be starting with our Pilates ball, so just make sure that that's handy. First thing, and our focus today is going to be on the spleen meridian line, as well as we're going to be doing some focus on releasing in and around the neck, which actually is going to be the chest area is going to be a main focus here, because these neck muscles can get really tense when all of this is tense in the front. But we are going to start with our Pilates ball first. So make sure that that is available. If you didn't happen to have one, you could use a pillow or a rolled up blanket or something, but these Pilates balls really do something just a little bit more because they grip your skin because of the texture of the ball. So there's a little added benefit. So if you don't have one now, you'll definitely want to get one at some point in time. Okay. So, here's somebody else joining us. All right, guys. Anyone is fine. Yeah, either one is fine. So you'll decide. So it's going to be going on your belly. So once you get it on your belly, you'll decide if you want one that has more or less air, if you happen to have one more full than the other. So the first thing we're going to be doing is taking this Pilates ball, and it is going to be going on your belly, but off to one side. So we'll start with it a little bit off to the right side. So go ahead and take that ball, place it on your mat or on the floor if you don't have a mat, and it's a little bit off to the right of my belly button. And then you're going to lay down and let your right knee come out to the right. I'll let somebody else in here. So if you're just joining us, we've got our Pilates ball, and it's a little bit to the right of the belly button, and you're laying on it. And then once you have that situated, go ahead and take your right knee out to the right. And then you can either lay your forehead onto the backs of your hands, or maybe a pillow or something. Or some of you might decide you want to stay lifted up onto your forearms. It's your choice. But once you've made your decision, you're going to be here for a little bit. So get comfortable. So it's doing a little lateral tugging on the tissue on the belly here. So once you get yourself situated, breathe. Deep breath into the belly, into the ribs, and then slow exhale. And you'll notice if you're using a Pilates ball that it does a little bit of grabbing of the skin and a little lateral tugging to this side. So we're doing some great work here on the tissue of your belly area where all of your organs are. So we're doing some great kind of massaging of sorts of the organs, which is very good for the organs, for their health. We've got, of course, our abdominal muscles in here that can get really locked down sometimes, particularly pulling on the obliques here. And you're tapping into a little bit of your hip flexors that run up inside of your torso. A little bit of your diaphragm is getting tapped into here as well. And as I mentioned earlier, we are addressing the spleen meridian line today. And so you're breathing into the ball. So you'll breathe in and you'll feel your belly kind of press against the ball. And then you'll exhale and you'll let the ball melt a little deeper into you, but also it does that little bit of lateral tugging on the tissue of your side belly. So again, it's off to one side of your belly button. Most of us have started on the right side. If you joined us a little later, maybe you started on the left. It doesn't matter whatever one you're doing. You'll do the opposite side here in just a moment. So take one more big, big breath in and a long exhale. And then carefully lifting up off of the ball. If you feel like you need to do a child's pose or something in between before you switch sides, of course, you're welcome to do that, but eventually switch sides. Most of us, that means we're moving the ball to the left side of our belly button now. And again, it's poking a little bit out to the side, and then that left knee comes out to the side. And you're still aiming your body towards the earth as best you can. Try not to twist in the body here. And big breaths in and long breaths out. Focusing on the breath here. So the spleen meridian is associated with self-esteem and open-mindedness. So as you breathe into the spaces here where you might have some stuck energy, some stuck chi, perhaps you invite in a sense of self-esteem. Perhaps you invite in open-mindedness. Continuing to focus on your breath, deep inhales, long exhales. Is that good? And we'll do 3 more big breaths in and out. And after your 3rd breath, go ahead and carefully come up and off of the ball once again. You can set that ball off to the side. So we're going to be doing a little bit of work at your wall today. So when we get up, so hopefully you have a wall space available. When you get up, you're going to be needing a ball and a block. Okay, we'll be using those eventually. We're going to be doing one thing before we use your ball, single ball and your block. So go ahead and come on up. If you need to move your camera or whatever you need to do to take it with you, great. Or maybe just look and see what I'm doing, and then you can move to your wall space. So I'm going to have my right hip facing the wall first. I'm going to place my right hand on the wall. Now from here, my right foot is going to step back behind me, and then I'm going to be leaning into the wall. So I might keep my left front leg a little bit straight, and then my back leg can bend a little bit. And I'm going to be shifting my hips to the left and leaning over to the right. So I'm getting a big stretch through this left side body, all the way through here, the place where we had the ball earlier, and lifting up and over, even through that armpit. Now, if it doesn't feel good in the shoulder to have it with a straight arm, you can place your left hand behind your head. So you're leaning the left hip out to the left, and you're arcing the body towards the wall. One more variation, you can slightly rotate forward, and that will bring this a little bit into the side of the low back, so even into the quadratus lumborum. Maybe that left hand actually places itself on the wall, maybe not. And you can play with this back leg. It can be straight, it can be bent, but that front leg is pretty straight. One more big breath in and out. And again, maybe you go back to just the regular side lean, or maybe you like this slight rotation forward. And then we carefully come up and we're going to switch sides. So turning the left side of your body to the wall, placing your hand on the wall. And you can see I'm a bit away from the wall so that I have somewhere to arc my body. My right foot is firmly planted. I step my left foot a little bit behind, and then you can play with it. You can keep both legs straight. You might even decide you want to try to see what it feels like to bend the front or the back leg. I feel it more when I keep the right front leg straight here, but you'll decide what allows you, everybody's body is a little different, to really feel this arcing stretch on the side of the body. And then you might again play with a slight rotation forward. See what you think. And don't forget to breathe. And again, if it doesn't feel good in your shoulder, remember, maybe placing your right hand behind your head here would feel better. You can still slightly rotate forward. It's still possible. 3 more breaths. Again, you can play with, what does it feel like with a straight front leg? What does it feel like with a straight back leg? Or bending one or the other. And slowly coming out of that. Great. Okay, guys, so we're going to go ahead and transition into our next thing. So you're going to want a block and a ball if you have the plus size or the regular size yoga tune-up balls. If you have one of the big alpha balls, you probably don't even need a block. This just allows you to do this without smashing your face against the wall. So for most of us, pretend this is the wall over here. The block is going to be there and the ball is going to be here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and place the block on the wall at about collarbone level. And then you'll be placing that ball against right underneath your collarbone. Okay. And then we'll start with the right side here. So place that ball right underneath your right collarbone and step your right foot forward, left foot back so you're nice and solid. Hold that block with your left hand so you don't slip and fall on your face. And then the right arm starts to move. You can move it like a snow angel. You could do like a shoulder press kind of a motion. You could let the arm dangle and you could let it circle around down or out to the side. Maybe you come up with something else entirely. Maybe you swing that arm back and forth in front of you. Or maybe it feels appropriate to just pin that ball there and take some deep breaths and not even take any movement with the arm. Checking in, you know what's best for you. Now remember, we want to go to a level that you feel it's interesting, but we're not going to a place where we are guarding. We're not going to a place where we cannot take a deep breath. We're not going to a place where we're freaking out, okay? So if you're just joining us, we've got a ball and a block. The block is against the wall, your ball is on that block. You've got that pinned right underneath your collarbone. Now, we've done some arm movements here. Go ahead and take a hold of that block with 2 hands now. And that ball is going to travel left and right across just the right collarbone. So not all the way across, just underneath and across the collarbone. So you'll move your body side to side. And again, you determine how much pressure, you control how much pressure. The more I lean in, if I bring my feet way back, I've got more of my body weight pressing against there. The closer I am, the less pressure there is. More is not always better. You want to find something where you're feeling it. It's not a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. It is something that is interesting. You feel it, but you're not guarding, you're not tensing up. Now, my neck should not be getting more tense as I'm doing this. I shouldn't be clenching my teeth. Okay, so we're sticking with this same side, but we're gonna bring the ball a little bit lower and closer to the armpit now. So what I like to do is turn my body a tiny bit to the left now. So I'm not completely facing the wall. I'm turning a little bit to the left, and it's pinned on the upper pectoral closer to my armpit. Hold that block with just the right hand again, and you start to move the arm once again. Checking back in with your breath. So move with your breath. Okay, so again, it's pinned right in here. And then that arm is moving in any way. Maybe it's like a snow angel. Maybe it's dangling. Check back in with your breath. So this area right here is notorious when it's tight, pulls on this neck and pulls the head forward, which can cause all kinds of problems in the back of the neck then. So tension back here often comes from issues in the front. And at the same time, we are still tapping into that spleen meridian line. So as we do this, we're clearing energy so we can invite in self-esteem. We can invite in all that's associated with that spleen meridian, open-mindedness. All right, so now face the wall again, and the ball will travel side to side across the pec. So hold that block with 2 hands and side to side. So it's across the pectoral area. So it's a little bit lower than it was when we did this before. And we're still on that right side. Relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, relax your face. All right, so before we do the second side, go ahead and set the ball and the block down, and we're going to use the wall for a little bit of an opening stretch in this area. So you'll decide the angle of the arm. The palm is going to be flat on the wall. It might be angled up or straight out or down. You're going to do the one that allows you to feel this area that we were just rolling the best. So if it's coming into the back of the shoulder or in another area where it doesn't belong, please adjust the arm. So the right hand is on the wall. Your left hand will wrap around and catch your right rib cage. And we're going to use our own left hand to help rotate, and then you rotate back towards the wall. So it's a moving stretch. So we're dynamically opening up this chest area. Oftentimes when we have an area that's really tight, if we don't kind of sneak into it by doing it with movement, it will just lock down on us even more. So if we just held this stretch, sometimes the body will not relax. It actually guards. So if we move into the stretch and then release the stretch and move into the stretch and release the stretch, oftentimes we'll get a better result. So use that left hand again to rotate you from your middle back, and then we rotate back. Rotate away, rotate back. Do it a couple more times. Rotate away. Check in with your breath. Are you breathing? Good. And release. All right. We're going to go to our second side with the block and the ball. And again, we're going to start right up on the left collarbone now. Okay. So place the block, place the ball. Step your left foot forward. Right hand holds that block. And then start to move the arm like a snow angel, perhaps. You can dangle the arm, just let it spin around. Okay, maybe you do more like a shoulder press. You can go out to the side. You can do some circles. You can absolutely just pin that ball and take some deep breaths. Once again, check in. Make sure you're not grinding those teeth or clenching your jaw. When we have stuck energy in our spleen meridian, again, we're focusing on that today, it can make us worry a lot. It can create a situation where we have poor concentration, self-pity, low self-esteem. So stuck energy here can create those emotions. But if we clear it out, it can create a healthy environment for self-esteem and confidence. Let's go ahead and grab that block with two hands now and roll that ball side to side. So it rolls back and forth. Again, it's just across the left collarbone now. You know, when we're releasing these areas that tend to make us have poor posture, right? So if we're tight in our pectoral area, we're kind of rounded in. And believe it or not, when we physically show like signs of low self-esteem and this rounded kind of posture exudes low self-esteem, believe it or not, energetically, that's what we put out and that's what we feel. So as soon as we get ourselves back into postural alignment, we look and feel more self-confident. So the body affects the mind affects the body. But if we can actually shift what's happening emotionally, mentally, spiritually, by shifting what's happening with the body. So the energy of the body will affect the mind, the emotions, the spirits. All right, so we're gonna be moving that ball now so it's down and a little closer to the armpits. So for me, again, I feel like I can access this a little better if I turn just slightly to the right. And then again, hold that block with your right hand. That left arm starts to move. So it's tapping into the pectoral area where it connects into the right, close to that armpit area. And that can be tender, so be careful. All those same things, dangle the arms, circle, snow angel kind of movement, shoulder press kind of a movement. Or maybe you just hold yourself still, pin that ball and take some deep breaths. All right, and then turn your body a little bit more towards the wall again. Hold the block with two hands and roll that ball back and forth. So you move your body so the ball goes towards the middle part of the pec, off to the side where it connects into that armpit area, slowly back and forth. Keep breathing. Three more big breaths. And then you'll go ahead and set that ball and the block down. Left hand on the wall. And again, you'll decide, and it might be different on this side, which angle that arm belongs for you. The right hand wraps around to the left rib cage, and you'll assist that rotation with your hand and then rotate back. So incorporating breath here. So traditionally in yoga, we breathe in as we expand and open. So that's rotating away. And then we breathe out as we kind of contract and close. And then again, open, breathe in, exhale, rotate back towards the wall. If the breath is confusing, don't worry about it. Just breathe. Don't hold your breath. And it's slow and intentional. That's the movement and the breath. And a couple more times. Okay, good job. All right, guys, so you can do this next one sitting, standing, it's really up to you, but just make sure that when you're doing it, you're able to keep a nice, long, tall spine. So what we don't want to do is do this with our back rounded like this. So if you need to stand to keep a tall spine, then go ahead and keep standing. We're going to be releasing the front of the neck. So if you can, get your hand on your actual skin. So that might mean put your hand inside your shirt. You're going to take your first finger and your thumb, place them right on the collarbones. And then I'm going to pull that skin downward, and then I place my other hand on top. So I'm assisting that lengthening, that stretching of the skin down. And then you start to move your neck. So bringing the head up, I'm not dumping it back, I'm lengthening through the front of my neck. So I'm thinking of my chin lifting out and up. So I'm stretching the front of my neck. And then I can start to move a little left and a little right. So I'm getting all of that front of the neck. Keep breathing. And eventually I like to switch my hands because my hand gets tired. So put the other hand down and then place it on top. And again, I'm pulling the skin down as I'm lifting the neck up. Maybe you pause for a breath or two if you find a sticky spot. All right, good job. Okay, so find your way back to your mat if you walked away or you're not there anymore. So we're going to be releasing the inner thigh. So you'll need your yoga tune-up balls inside their toes. This can also be done with a foam roller if you prefer. I find the yoga tune-up balls can do a little bit additional right next to the knee that the foam roller can't, but it's just a preference. So you're going to be placing your balls on top of your block. So you'll notice I have the ball on the block and the block is this way. I'm going to lay down next to the block and the balls, and I'll be placing my inner part of my knee right on top of those balls. Okay? So you notice my knee and my hip are basically in the same line. So I'm not down here, it's straight out from my hip. And then I'll determine how much pressure is on there. The more I lean towards the right, towards the block and the balls, the more pressure. The more I lean away, the less pressure. So I'm going to roll up and down whatever degree I have the mobility in my hip to roll. And remember, your whole fascia is connected. So if I just release here by the knee, I'm still helping the tissue way up by my groin area. It's all connected. Now, if you have a foam roller, you might actually be able to go the whole length of the thigh. But again, remember, it's not required. So we're rolling up and down, up and down. My knee is bent right now. You might try it also with a straight or straighter leg. That's going to feel different. And then you might find a spot where you want to pin the balls and then straighten and bend and straighten and bend. And that will feel different. Other things you can do, you can straighten the leg and kind of shimmy that leg back and forth like this. That does a little cross fiber work. Other things you can do, you can internally rotate the whole leg and then rotate it back. And internally rotate, do it slowly and rotate it back. All kinds of different ways you can do a release here. Again, rolling up and down with a bent leg, with a straight leg. Pin the balls and straighten and bend and straighten and bend. Internally rotate, the whole leg rotates down. So if you have any knee issues, of course, this is fantastic for getting any stuck tissue that might be pulling those knees out of alignment, getting that tissue unstuck. This also, once again, taps into that spleen meridian line. Continue doing whatever seems appropriate for you there on that inner right knee. Tell you a little bit more about the spleen meridian line. So as I mentioned, if your spleen meridian line is out of balance or stuck, things like worry and poor concentration, forgetfulness, oh gosh, attachment, obsession, gluttony, jealousy, self-pity, low self-esteem, and stubbornness, all of those can show up. So if those things happen to be showing up and they don't make sense for you, perhaps your spleen meridian line needs a little love, and that's what we're doing today. So you have 5 more breaths. You can do what you need to do in those 5 breaths. Additionally, physical things can show up like digestive and stomach issues. So physical imbalances, digestive issues, stomach problems. However, when in balance, We have fairness, openness, deep thinking, high self-esteem, open-mindedness. All of those can be showing up for us when our spleen meridian line is in balance. All right. So we are going to go to side number 2. Now, if you need to take a little child's pose again or something else in between, please do. Feels good sometimes just to let the back relax for a moment. And eventually coming to side number 2, left inner knee on top of the balls and the block. If you didn't have a block, of course, the balls would just be on the floor. There's usually a little less pressure if that's the case, but that might be appropriate for you anyway. You can roll up and down with a bent knee. You can roll up and down with a straight leg. You could pause and bend and straighten, bend and straighten. And you could internally rotate the whole leg, straight leg rolls down to the ground and then back to neutral. Good. And again, perfect. You guys look great. Can lean towards the balls. You can lean a little away if it's too much pressure. And again, if it's like super sharp, it's too much. So really honor that. You should be able to take a deep breath. You should not be grinding or gritting your teeth. And as you're releasing, just knowing you are shifting yourself in the direction of higher self-esteem and open-mindedness, clearing out worry, clearing out jealousy, self-pity. Let's take 3 more of your biggest, most expansive breaths. And then when you feel ready, you'll make your way off of the balls and the block, and we're going to make our way onto hands and knees. Just to move a little energy through the spine, we'll first move through some cat-cows. We're going to do a variety of cat-cows. So this first one, just wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Tuck your chin, round your spine, pull the belly in as you come into this cat posture. And then move from your middle back to move the chest forward, lengthen through the chest, move the shoulders back. Try not to crank on the neck, just lengthen through the neck so we're not dumping it backwards. And then again, tuck and round. You can even use the earth a little bit, press into the hands, create a little more space in your middle and upper back. And then lift and lengthen and pull the heart forward. One more time, just like that. Round the spine, tuck the chin. Lengthen the spine, breathe in, open the heart. And then bring the forearms to the ground, and we're gonna do the same thing, but with the forearms on the ground. And you'll decide if you want your hips to stay right over your heels, or maybe you move your hips closer to your heels. And then we really focus on the upper back here. when we bring the forearms to the ground, it's a little more upper back focused. So lift and lengthen and tuck and round. Lift and lengthen, breathe in. Tuck and round, breathe out. One more time, lengthen. And one more time, round. And then bringing the hands to the earth again. So we're going to focus now just on the lower back. So as best you can, the upper back stays still and we just move through the pelvis. So I'm not tucking my chin, I'm keeping a neutral neck. I tuck under and then I extend. So I'm sticking my booty out, coming into a sway back and then tuck under. The focus is more on the low back now. And then lift and lengthen. Just the low back, and don't overthink it. You're still getting great benefits even if you're not isolating the low back. If you can, great. If you can't, don't worry. Just breathe and move. One more time. Beautiful. All right, so now as you come into your sway back, so that's the cat's posture, right? Or no, excuse me, the cow posture. So sticking your booty out, lifting your chest up, keep that. Step your right foot out to the right. Ankle, knee, hip in one line. So do your best not to have the foot way behind you. It's straight out to the side. Now it's going to be tempting to round your spine as you move your hips towards your heels, but don't let it happen. Move towards your heel, but don't let it happen. So it's tempting to round so you can go farther. That will absolutely take the stretch away from the inner thigh. So lift the chest, stick your booty out, rock towards your heel, and then come back. So similar to what we were doing against the wall with the chest stretch, we're moving into the stretch, we're moving out of the stretch. Moving into the stretch, moving out of the stretch. Right inner thigh. Couple more times like that. And the foot is fairly flat on the floor. It doesn't have to be completely flat. If your ankle doesn't like it, then maybe you let the foot kind of roll over a little bit. It's fine. Okay, we're adding in something. Take a look at this right foot. As we rock back, the heel goes towards the ground and the toes move in the direction of the ceiling. It does not mean they're actually going to point straight up and down. They might not. And then they go back to flattish again. And then roll back, keep the sway back, don't round, and then come back. Roll towards the heel, toes up. And it's so slow. Okay, don't rush this. And one more time after this. Okay, good. Bring the right knee back down and take your version of a child's pose. For some of you, if your knees don't like child's pose, you might simply round your spine now like a cat again, just moving into flexion for a few breaths. All right, and then when you're ready, come back to hands and knees and step the left foot out. And we're going to do it on the left side. So again, for this first part, the foot stays fairly flat. Come into that sway back cow pose. Rock towards your heel and then bring it back to neutral. Rock it back towards your heel, back to neutral. And again, be careful you don't round to try to get farther. You'll take the stretch off the inner thigh if you do that. Ah, you guys look good. make sure you're keeping your chest lifted, Lisa. Yeah. Good. And then add in the heel down, toe up, and then roll it back to flat. And even if you move 1 centimeter, that's better than compensating and rounding your spine to go farther. You guys look good. Yeah, I like it. Nice. Couple more times. So for those of you, like when you squat or lunge, or you just notice your knees tend to cave in, the combo that we just did, I would do it a lot. So the rolling of the inner thigh and this mobility drill for the inner thighs, really a good one for you. All right, so you can come out of that and move into it again, a child's pose for a breath or two, or maybe a cat posture if that feels better for you in your back or your knees. All right, good. Okay, guys, so I'm going to give you a couple of options for this next one. And there is a third option if you prefer it. You can use a foam roller instead of either of these options as well. So you can use your block, and it's going to go underneath your armpit area to release the lats. And it would be standing on this middle setting, we call it. You can use your block on its flattest setting with your balls on top of your block. That's another option. And then third option, you can use a foam roller the same way you'd be using the block, which I will show you now. So if you're just using your block, again, it's on this middle setting. You're going to lay your armpit on the block. And this works pretty well with foam blocks. It's pretty intense with a cork or a wooden block. I don't necessarily recommend it. So that's one option, okay? Next option, similar to what we did with, actually it's gotta go this way, sorry. So the balls are this way on your block, armpit on the block. Okay, so that's another option. So you'll decide. So you'll kind of figure it out once you get there. Like if it's not tolerable with the balls under there, maybe you try the block or your foam roller. So this bottom right arm is on the ground and that top left arm comes behind your head and you're rolling forward and rolling back. So don't fall off your block, please. Or if you're on a short foam roller, don't fall off the back of the foam roller. If this is intense, that's normal. If it's so intense you can't take a deep breath, maybe put a towel or something between your armpit and the balls or the block. This can be really intense for a lot of us. This is another area that when it's tight, it pulls those shoulders forward, creates that rounded spine posture, which affects the neck, which of course, as I mentioned before, affects your self-esteem even because the physical body talks to the mind and tells you, what's happening. So if you physically look like you're not feeling self-confident, you might be surprised that will transfer right into your mind. So back and forth as best you can, deep breaths. A few more breaths here. Tapping into that spleen meridian once again. Letting go of worry and doubt. All right. Let's go ahead and switch right to side number 2. And again, you could use the block on its middle setting here, or then it would be the same. You just roll front to back, or put it on a flatter setting, and then you place the balls on top of there, lay the armpit on there, same thing. Bottom arm on the floor, and then rotating front to back. Maybe you adjust the balls a little higher or a little lower, depending on what you're feeling. I would be lying to you if I were to say, oh, this is going to be super comfortable. But it has to be tolerable enough that you're not guarding or creating an environment where you're actually making things worse. So if it's too much, please grab a towel or something to give yourself a little bit of cushion between you and the block or the balls. One of the white, softer foam rollers could be another option if this is too much for you. Keep breathing deeply, that can help. Just a couple more times, rolling front, rolling back. All right. Good. So we'll remove the ball and the balls and the block, set it off to the side. So from here, back to hands and knees, and we'll be walking both sets of hands towards the left corner of your mat, really reaching the right arm out. So I like to come onto my left forearm and then really reach that right arm out. So I'm now stretching into this right armpit area, the outside of my right body. I might take my knees a little wider and even sit my hips a little bit to the right. I'll get it to travel not just through my armpit, but even into my right ribs and sometimes down into the right hip. One more breath in. And one more breath out. And then carefully walk yourself to the right corner of your mat and really reach that left arm. And I'm on my right forearm and really lengthening out the left arm. Breathing into the left armpit, into the left ribs. I could even sit my hips a little to the left. I'll get a little into the side body, all the way down to the hip. Breathing deeply into the ribs. And 3 more big breaths. And after your 3rd breath, start to carefully come out of that. And then we're going to be taking your balls and your block once again. I'm going to place them on your neck. We're not going to move the neck first. We're just going to do a hold with the balls on the neck. And we're going to be doing some releasing of some tissue in and around the ear. So I'm going to come a little closer, give you a little demo before we get there. So a couple things you're going to be doing. Once you lay down, you'll have the balls on your neck. So both at the same time, I'm not going to do this here because I'll pull my microphone out. Just doing some little like tugging, massaging of the ears. So there's all kinds of tissue in here that you get. It's like reflexology on your ears. I know we think about it in your feet and stuff, but you actually have reflexology points in your ears. So you'll be doing some just kind of tugging slowly and gently, and then 2 fingers eventually just massaging the front and the back of the ear. So we're going to do that while we lay down. So you'll go ahead and place the balls on your neck in a comfortable place for you. So it should be comfortable. If it's too much with the block, just do the balls without the block. And then you'll take both hands. You can do both ears at the same time if you'd like. If it's not comfortable to do both, just do one at a time. So you can start with that, just even like taking your earlobe and just giving a little tug. Don't get aggressive. Working your way up the ear, just kind of massaging and just doing a little tugging at the same time. You can even put your fingers more in towards the inner part of the ear and press in there. There's reflexology points in there as well. And again, if you're able, you'll do both at the same time. If not, maybe you'll switch to the other ear now. If you happen to be doing both at the same time, now you can take your 2 peace fingers, first and second finger, and just straddle your ear now and rub up and down. So one finger is behind the ear, the other one's in front of the ear. And just up and down, up and down. And if you're doing one ear at a time, you can switch. And then go ahead and release your arms down to your sides, and we'll start to focus on releasing of the neck. So you can turn your head left and right, side to side. Saying no with your head, no more worry, no more jealousy, no more low self-esteem. And you can start doing a yes motion with your head. Yes to open-mindedness. Yes to self-esteem, confidence, healthy digestion. Yes, yes, yes. And you can do sort of a diagonal motion. Turn your head one way. We'll say to the right, and then nod your head yes. And you can turn your head to the left and nod your head yes. You can play with the position of the balls. If they were right in the middle of your neck, maybe you bring them more to the base of your skull. And you can repeat all of those things, yes and no and diagonal. You have a couple more, maybe 3 more breaths. And then after those 3 breaths, you'll decide if this is incredibly comfortable on your neck. There's no efforting, there's no discomfort. If it feels amazing, you can leave the balls and you can take this as your Shavasana. If there's any effort at all being made or it's uncomfortable at all, please remove the balls in the block and do a more traditional Shavasana. Whatever you're choosing, go ahead and take a big, big, big breath in now and sigh it out. Let's do that one more time. Breathe in deeply and sigh it out audibly. You've done the practice. Now you can let everything go. Please, if you can, stay here in your Shavasana for at least 5 minutes. Longer is better, but 5 minutes will do. And we'll allow the practice to assimilate into your body and carry you into your day. Thank you so much. The divine light in me honors and sees the divine light in all of you. Namaste.